Hi, my name is TJ. My dad died of overdose on January 1st, 2011, and my mom is a recovering addict. God helped my mom, and now together we are here to help you. Now let's talk recovery. Here's your host, my mom, Susan Sexton-Wood.
Hi, and welcome to Let's Talk Recovery. I'm your host, Susan Sexton-Wood. Unchained Praises is an outreach. We want to help those who struggle with addiction, not only the addict, but also the loved ones of addicts. We are here to help you one-on-one build your own personal recovery plan, to listen and connect you and motivate you to continue moving forward and get you the help that you need. We want to meet you right where you're at and walk alongside you for your recovery so that you can be a productive member of society, something that you may have struggled with in active addiction to be. Our guest today is Shelley Wilburn. I said that right?
Wilburn.
Wilburn.
Yeah, it's close enough. It's close. Just don't call me late for dinner.
Yeah. We want to thank her for being taking the time and coming to be on the show. Welcome, Shelley.
Hi, how are you? Thank you.
I'm good.
Glad to be here.
Thanks. We're just going to start off, and I want you to share your testimony. Take all the time that you need, and
Okay.
for those who are listening, we want them to choose recovery. So.
Absolutely. It's a wonderful way of life. My sobriety birthday is May the 14th of 1991. I've been sober for 28 years. It's a really long time. It's almost embarrassing. We were talking about that before. Okay, I'll start. The big book of Alcoholics Anonymous says that we are to tell what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. So a little bit about what it was like before. You spelled my name wrong. I was that threw me.
How do you spell it?
It's E-Y.
E-Y?
Yeah, he had it right back there. Anyway, so I was raised in the country. Never felt like I fit in anywhere. Always felt different. Always felt alone. That's typical of most addicts and alcoholics that I've talked with in my work. That feeling of separateness or differentness, that feeling of not belonging, or that emptiness that sits here in the soul, chronic emptiness. I call it the hole in the soul that I just always had that. Even when I was a kid, before I even started drinking. I was painfully shy. It was terrible. And what happened is, I'm not going to go into a lot of it, but I had an absolutely insane childhood. A lot of craziness that went on. A father that frequently put me and my little brother in situations where we could have been killed. Dangerous driving, dangerous situations, dangling us from backhoes and pointing guns and shooting at my brother, and it was really kind of crazy. So I got this sense of, the world isn't a safe place to live in from fairly early on. And he was kind of a hippie guy initially. When we were young, he was like hippie dad, and he was a lot of fun, And then he changed, got involved in a religious community, and suddenly we went from hippie dad who didn't believe in marriage and thought people should just didn't need that piece of paper or whatever. All of a sudden, we're into this new thing where, it is very strict, and it was very confusing. So my early life was pretty confusing. And I started working we worked all the time when I was growing up. I mean, we raised or grew almost everything we ate on our farm. It was about 8 acres, and it was just like that. And I had horses. We had horses, and that was my escape from that situation. With that, I'd go out on my horse and ride for hours and hours, and just take off and be in the woods. And most of the time, I was alone. And so hit about 16, I get my first job. I got a job at Baskin-Robbins, dipping ice cream, and there I met my fabulous coworker Tina, who liked to drink cherry vodka and smoke a little herb on the side. And I started hanging out with Tina, and we would go out and drink, and oh my God, all of a sudden, girl, the first time I drank, the big book has the promises. All those promises came true for me when I found alcohol. All of a sudden, I was prettier, wittier, and tittier. It was awesome, you know. I was just like, whoo! All the shyness fell away, and I was no longer the person that didn't fit in anymore. I was the life of the party, and or I felt like I was the life of the party. I was probably an ass most of the time, but anyway, so that's what it was like and what happened. And the drinking continued to progress. And initially it was fun, and it did help me to fit in and feel like I belonged. I got that sense of belonging from it. But gradually, insidiously, began to creep into my life this feeling once again of not good enough, not complete, there's something missing. I thought maybe it was men. I thought maybe it was the place I lived. I thought maybe it was, but it was never the alcohol. That was never the problem for me. You know, that was always the solution. And I never wanted to look at, you know, the other areas of that area of my life, because that was the solution, not the problem. So time goes on. I've moved to Florida. I've tried different relationships. Nothing seems to work. I can't figure out, why is my life not working? What's wrong? And the hole in my soul that I had when I was younger began to creep in and get bigger and bigger and bigger. And the alcohol stopped filling that. And I tried other drugs too, but you know, alcohol was the main one for me. Thank God heroin and meth wasn't around back then, because I know it would all been all bad. I just know me, and that I was always searching for something to fill me. And so one day I was sitting alone in my apartment by myself. I was drunk again, had a knife in my hand again, wasn't the first time, at my wrist again, thinking, oh my God, you know, please God help me, please God help me, take this away from me. And I'm rocking back and forth on the floor, and all of a sudden, this feeling of light and peace and love just descended down over me. It was just incredible. It was like I had a direct line to the infinite universe, whatever the higher power is. And I was filled with peace and love and light. And I got up and I started dancing around, and I was laughing and just unbelievably happy and at peace for the first time probably ever in my life. And that was before I ever went to a 12-step meeting or anything. I had never been involved in anything involving recovery before. This happened to me. God gave this to me, and it was incredible. And I started looking for help after that. I called CMHS, it's Meridian now, and I set up an appointment. He spelled my name right. I set up an appointment, and I went in and I talked to one of the therapists there. His name was Jerry Overmeyer, and they told me there that I might have an alcohol problem. Imagine that. I had no idea. And I began to look at those things in my life and how it was affecting me, and how, you know, that had become, insidiously became the problem rather than the solution for me. So I got involved. He suggested I go to some AA meetings. I called my buddy Steve. He's the only person I know that's been to an AA meeting, and Steve says he'll go with me, but he's drinking again. So he goes with me to my first AA meeting, and we have a wonderful time, and I'm there, and he's critiquing everybody, and oh, this one likes to talk, and that one's blah, 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 and I'm like, shut up, I'm trying to listen. And we leave the meeting, and I said, there's another one on Thursday, will you go with me again? And he says, oh, heck no, I'm not doing that anymore. And he didn't make it, but I did. I stayed sober. You know, I stayed clean, and I continued. I scrounged up the courage, because I don't have alcohol, my liquid courage anymore, to help me. So I scrounged up the courage, and I started going to the meetings on my own. I got sober in Newcastle. It was this huge room, the Catholic Church in Newcastle. It was St. Anne's Catholic Church, where they had the meetings, and they still smoked back then. So the meeting, you'd walk in, and you'd go down these stairs into this smoke everywhere. And I smoked at the time. I don't smoke anymore. And you would go down into this smoky room and sit down with, there was a core of people there that were really wanting the program and working the program, and then there were the court-ordered people over here, and I didn't know where to sit. So I'm hanging out in the meetings, and gradually somebody starts noticing that I'm coming regularly and not getting slips signed, and they take me under their wing and welcome me into the program, and I throw myself into it. The program is not just attending meetings. That's so important for people to remember, that you have to work the program. The 12 steps are spiritual kindergarten for people who's looking to fill that emptiness inside, They guide you to a spiritual experience and then on to helping others. That's key in recovery. You have to give it 100%. I would say 10%. If you spent 10% of the effort into getting sober that you spent, most people that I know, when they were drinking and using drugs, spent 100% of their time chasing the high. I didn't have to chase the high, I could just go to the liquor store. But a lot of the people that I've worked with, talk about chasing the high with heroin or meth or whatever, and trying to find it. And it's a 24-hour-a-day job for these kids nowadays. I hate it for them. And, but if they would put 10% of the effort they put into chasing the high into getting clean and sober, I think they'd lick it. I really do. What's 10%? That'd be like 3 hours a day. 3 hours a day in your recovery. That'd be going to a meeting, reading your big book, spending a little bit of time talking with the sponsor, getting a sponsor, and working the steps. I taught an IOP group for a couple of years, and I worked with people on the steps. And we would go through step 1, 2, 3 fairly quickly, meet with them one time and we talk about step 1. Okay, they got that one down. Step 2, came to believe that our power greater than ourselves could restore sanity. Then we get to step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. Then they hit step 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory, and I'd give them an assignment. They come back. We'd be on step 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves, and they come back. Step 4, they never finished the 4th step, and I hate that for them. I was working with this girl a few years ago, and she asked me to be her sponsor, and we got sober about the same amount of time, but she just couldn't catch the program. And I was like, well, okay, let's do it, let's work it, we'll start out. Why don't we get started on the, we work through steps 1, 2, and 3 very quickly. And I said, get your old 4th step out if you want, I don't care, but let's get that 4th step done. Oh, I've never done a 4th step. What? Well, there's the reason why you can't get clean and sober. You've never done your 4th step. You've never done the work. You can hide out in meetings for years and not get sober.
Right.
People do it all the time, and it's really sad. It's really sad because there's so much more out there than just not drinking. There's so much more, because you can quit drinking and still have that hole in your soul, that emptiness that needs to be filled, I believe, with some type of spiritual, awakening, guidance, some type of, the thing that the program gives you, that peace, the thing that the serenity prayer talks about. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So there's that sense of peace that comes with that, the wisdom. That's what you need, the wisdom to know, what can I change and what can I not change, and what do I give to God?
Right.
What do I turn over? So I got sober, and I got knocked up a year later. Most people have that happen when they're drinking, but no, not me. You make some of the biggest mistakes you'll ever make in your early years of recovery. So I got pregnant at a year sober, and I'm like, oh great, this is the worst thing that could ever happen to me. But it turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. It just goes to show you that we don't know what's good for us and what's not good for us. Oftentimes in recovery, we have no idea what's going to happen, what's good and what's not good. I thought this was the worst thing that could ever happen to me. But that baby lit a fire under me. And within a year after she was born, I was back in college. I was working on my college degree. I was working part-time, and I was raising a baby, and I was going to meetings, and I was trying to help others. So all of that happened within 2 years of my sobriety. You know, within 2 years, your life can change so fast, you know. All I did before was work in bars, hang out in bars, play in bars. I was a heck of a pooler player. I mean, I was really good. But anyway, I got sober. I went back to college. I got my college degree. I'd been to college before. I majored in Budweiser for 4 years. I left there a freshman. My mother was so proud, you know. But when I got into recovery, things started going right. I figured out how to do things. I was able to get it done. You know, I was able to focus on things. I was able to finish things for the first time in my life. I'd never been able to finish anything, you know, jobs, relationships, nothing. You know, they were all short term. That all changed. And I owe it to the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I owe it to that. Try not to, you know, that whole anonymity thing. Anyway, so I got my college degree, and I went on, and my life, for the most part, got better and better. I've been sober, like I said, 28 magical years. It hasn't all been easy, but I have a program of recovery that helps me and guides me now, and it works. It's a model for living that really works. It talks about that in the big book.
So you're a recovery coach.
Yeah.
And so how do you like being a recovery coach?
Oh, it's the most rewarding job I've ever had in my life. I love it. I'm kind of in between jobs right now. I'm looking for another one. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's really awesome. I love helping others. I love talking to, you can't tell, can you? I love talking about the program of recovery. I get really excited about it. I mean, it saved my life, you know.
That's what's going to draw people in.
What?
Is being excited about
talking
about it. Yeah.
I was a pretty successful recovery coach where I was at. I took a program from nothing to 3 successful IOP groups, and where other people I was working with were having troubles and chasing people to come in. I were having mine calling me on the phone saying, Shelley, when's our next appointment? I need to get in there, you know. Wow. But I think that's the excitement of recovery, you know. Mm-hmm. If you're not excited about your recovery, you're not doing something right there. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is always growing and changing. In every situation, I can turn to the steps now. And I can use that in any situation I have going on in my life to help and guide me through it. You know, I can do an inventory on anything that's going on in my life now, you know, relationships or whatever. It's been a long time since I thought about drinking again, but I use the steps in the program every day, you know. It talks about prayer and meditation, you know, the 11th step, continuing to take inventory in step 10, and then in step 11, you know, continuing with the prayer and meditation. I practice those things. You know, that's not just something that I gloss over in my life. That's something that I use. More meditation, I think, now than prayer. I don't have a lot of things that I ask God for anymore. You know, I don't need to ask Him for anything. He provides all my needs if I stay close to Him. And, you know, the meditation is where we kind of get our answers from. So that's big for me.
So what's some of your coping skills?
I ride horses. I got 4. I'm the crazy horse lady. I got 3 dogs, 4 horses. I ride horses now. I do yoga. Love my yoga. Try to hit yoga class about twice a week. That helps with the meditation thing too. Today, I chase after peace, not the high, drugs, whatever, alcohol. Today, peace is my thing. That's what turns me on. That's what I chase now. I want peace of mind. I want the peace of God that it talks about, you know.
Right. So what about self-care? Probably riding horses is part of your self-care.
Oh, yeah.
What else do you do for self-care?
Yoga. I exercise regularly. You know, if I'm telling my people in my IOP groups or whatever, if I'm talking with anybody in recovery and I'm telling them they need to do this, I need to be practicing it too. I can't be
Right.
telling people to do things that I'm not willing to do myself. So I do all of that. I exercise, yoga, meditate, pray, everything, you know, and it's really made a huge difference in my life.
Good. I like to have people talk to the audience about if there's somebody out there that may be struggling, what could you tell them to help them, to draw them in, to help them want to choose the path of recovery?
Work the steps. Work the steps. The steps are the path to recovery. I mean, they're in order for a reason, and they're steps, and you have to take them. You know, don't be afraid. I see so many people that get afraid to take that 4th step. They work step 1, 2, and 3, and they get to the 4th step, and they're afraid to open that door and look inside. And it's not that scary. It's really not. If you do it correctly with your sponsor, it's really not the boogeyman that people think it is.
Yeah.
I think they need to get to meetings, keep going to meetings, but don't hide in the meetings. Work the steps. Find a sponsor, talk to people, get involved in the program.
Is there like a clubhouse where meetings are held where you're from in Portland?
Portland didn't have anything like that. We have a couple of meetings there. I usually shoot down to Muncie if I'm going to go to meetings.
Okay.
They have a couple of clubhouses down there. There's a Serenity Club, which is more involved with NA. And then there's the Alno Club, which is more involved with AA. And then there's some meetings scattered around the area that are pretty cool. I shoot over to Fort Recovery sometimes, too. There's some good meetings over in Ohio.
Okay.
It's fun.
Is there meetings every day in the surrounding area where you're from?
Muncie has meetings every day.
Every day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's one at 7 Monday through Friday, one at 11:30 Monday through Friday, and one at 5:15 Monday through Friday.
At
And then they
7
have some on
a.m.?
the weekends. 7 a.m., yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I've never been to it.
Yeah.
It's a little early for me.
That's a good time for a meeting, though.
It
for
is,
people
right
that-
before work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's usually when I like to exercise. I do that in the mornings. I'm a morning exerciser.
Yeah.
I get up with lots of energy.
Well, you can pass some of that over here.
I have a lot of energy
not
anyway.
We have probably about 5 minutes left. Is there anything else that you would like to share about your testimony and what you do today in your life? And
My life just gets better and better. I mean, working with other people has really put a new level to my recovery. I think the last 2 years working as a recovery coach has been a real blessing to me personally. That is work that I really love. And I'd
are
like
you
to
looking for a
continue
job
that.
in the same field as a recovery coach?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to do. I got some apps in. I got some interviews set up, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But it's all good. I try to stay positive, and I know, I have faith that, you know, I'm being put where I need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Things happen for a reason. Nothing in God's world happens by mistake. I truly believe that.
Yeah. Do you have any hobbies?
Horseback riding.
Anything besides horseback riding?
Oh, I read, I garden, I love to cook when I can find victims. No, I'm actually a pretty good cook. I go to a lot of meetings.
Do you give lessons for horseback riding?
Oh, heck no.
No. Why not? You know how to do it.
No, that's not my thing. Let's see. I can't think of anything else. That's pretty much it. What do you need? What else do you need to know?
Well, I think you did a really good job of sharing your testimony and kind of breaking all that down. And you're from the Portland area, right?
Right.
That's where meetings are. So we just want to thank you for being on the show and taking the time to drive it here, because it's about an hour, isn't it,
Yeah.
from Portland?
About that.
Yeah.
It was worth it, though. I'm glad I got to come over here and talk with you.
Yeah, I'm glad you did too.
I could talk a little bit more about the steps
If you feel led to, that'd be good.
All right.
We still got a few minutes.
I just think that so often in life today, people just let things passively roll over them. They're looking for the easy answers. And the steps do take a lot of work, but it's worth it.
I've done them myself, and there's been a lot of healing.
Yeah.
I feel after I did my steps, it was like just some relief, like the heavy load was let go.
Exactly. Because a lot of times when we're in our active addiction with substances, any substance, we feel dirty on the inside. You know, we've done things, we've said things, some of the things that some of the people that I've worked with in the past are just horrible, you know, that they've had to do in order to maintain their addiction. And some of the things that I did, you know, waking up with people I don't know and, you know, craziness like that. You know, it's like, oh my God, you know. So there's got to be some way to clean all that out. And that's what the steps do. The steps are there to help us feel clean on the inside again. To get us to where we're clean and like who we are. And there's no part of my story today that I'm ashamed to use. There's just no part. I've used it all with other people. I don't have any secrets anymore. You know, it's all pretty much just out there. And that's what the big book tells us, that we will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door upon it. We're going to comprehend the word serenity, and we're going to know peace.
Yeah. The steps are a good tool, and the meetings are a good tool. We have to have some fellowship within our recovery, I believe, to just help strengthen it. You know, to have other people walk alongside of us and encourage us when it comes to the sponsors, and it's just important. It's important.
Well, it's a we program, not a me program, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I know that for so many years in my own early days, even before I started drinking, you know, that chronic emptiness, the aloneness was hard to live with.
You're not alone when you come to the
No.
AA program, huh?
I'll tell you what, when I first went to the meetings, it was like, this is where I belong. For the first time, I felt like I belonged somewhere, that people understood me. I was really young. I was only 26. But I was scared to death. I remember that. I was afraid, man, I'm too young. They're going to tell me to leave. They won't let me stay.
That's good. That's good. A good way to put it is that you feel like you belong.
Yeah, I did. That feeling of belonging, I instantly knew that was where I belonged, that I needed to be there. Not everybody feels that way. Some people get that feeling right away, and other people, that comes upon them slowly and gradually. For me, I knew right away that this is where I was being led by God, you know, the whole spiritual experience.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for taking the time and coming and sharing your testimony. We want to thank you for joining us on the Let's Talk Recovery show. If you are struggling and you need help, we want to encourage you to reach out. We are here for you. If you can get us on Facebook or the website. So thank you for joining us on the Let's Talk Recovery show.